This is going to be very different content for this channel, but it's something that I'm going through, and so I'm sure a lot of other people are going through this considering the news of the last 2 weeks. So I thought I would just put it out here as some tips for how I prepped for what I'm going through, and if you think you may be going through the same thing, how you can potentially approach it, and I just hope it's helpful to somebody. So if you've never been here before, my name is Gina, and I primarily make videos about mystery and crime thriller fiction, and that is what this channel is here for. However, I am currently going through a layoff, and I'm over 50, and it's really intimidating for anybody when you are going through a layoff. But I think especially when you are over 50, there is a real challenge of thinking that nobody wants to hire somebody your age, you're too expensive to be hired in comparison to others in the job market, and just a general kind of being down on yourself, which is universal. So I thought I would give a little bit of background detail, as much as I can, that this is not my first rodeo. This is actually the third time I've been through a layoff in the course of my career. Some I handled better than others. My first layoff was when I was 22 years old. I was going to school and I was working at an insurance company. And warning for everyone out there, I also had an eating disorder. And at the time I was in a very stressful relationship, and actually work was probably the least stressful thing in my life. But I had to take a medical leave because I became very ill, with mostly due to having the ED. And while I was off on that medical leave, I did a lot of thinking about what I wanted my life to look like and what I wanted to be doing. And I was in a very unique situation where I could leave my day job and work for my parents, who owned a restaurant at the time, and just focus on school. And I made the decision to do that. I'd already made that decision when I got the call one day from my manager that our office location was being closed and everybody was going to get laid off. Now, knowing what I know now, I should have just gone back to work and waited for the end and gotten my severance package. Now, it wouldn't have been a lot. I hadn't worked there for a huge amount of time, but it would have been something, and then I would have been able to take unemployment for a while. But I knew I was going to work for my parents. It really didn't matter, and I didn't need to be on unemployment. The second time was many years later. I had worked for the same company for 15 years. I was married. I had a teenage daughter, or about to be teenage daughter, and it was kind of a toxic environment that I was working in, and I wasn't very happy there. And I knew that there were going to be voluntary reductions because they needed to cut budget. And so it was just a waiting game of waiting for them to offer that severance package to volunteers. And so as soon as they did it, I volunteered for it. Now, because I knew it was coming, that was when I first started putting together the list of tips I'm going to share with you, because I had to start thinking about, okay, what does this mean? What does next mean for me? This last time I'd worked for this company for 12 years, so I had two pretty good chunks duration of careers, and again, could see the signs that it was coming. So put into place the same tips that I'm going to go through with you now that I'd used 12 years ago, and added some things to it. So the first tip is watch for the signs. Don't get caught out and be one of those people who goes to work one day and then turns around and says to everybody in their life, I didn't see it coming. I had no idea. I'm completely unprepared for this. I'm blindsided. I think in this day and age, we're all pretty savvy to what's going on, and we should be watching our employers for their financial health, for profitability of the groups that we work in, even if it's just, is everybody in my department busy? And if they're not, what does that mean? I would love to say that layoffs have this very predictable pattern of who will go and who won't go, and they frankly don't. As being someone who has helped companies go through layoffs and make those decisions, it's really not an exact science. And it's not necessarily based on performance. It's not necessarily based on revenue, who's bringing in money, who's even busy. It can be a lot of who's liked, who's popular, and unfortunately it can be whole groups that are just replaced or moved, they're offshored, or we're just not going to do that work anymore. So watch the signs, know what's going on in the company, keep your ears open, think about what's coming next. And honestly, this is something I think you should always be doing in your career. Always be thinking about what would happen, what's next, am I prepared? Don't become so complacent that you think this will never happen to me. I've been through this 3 times now. So just know that it's probably going to hit everyone at least once. If it hasn't hit you and you're over 50, congratulations. But if you're younger than that, this may be something you've already gone through multiple times as well. So just watch the signs. If it takes watching the signs to get you to step 2, that's fine. But I would always think about, what does my next look like? So for me, I have made left turns every time that this happened. The first time it happened, I made a left turn to go to work in a family business and to focus on my education and to finally get right through school and to get into grad school. The second time it happened, I was working for a specific industry in a senior manager role, and I decided to move into consulting. I knew that I'd always liked doing project work, and the place where I was at in my career with that company was taking me out of project work. And I thought going into consulting would get me back to project work and I could focus on that, and it did. So I made that left turn and I started talking to consultants that I had worked with before, the managers in their organizations, and started doing some networking to make sure that I thought consulting would be the right move for me. And then I realized that I would need a different kind of resume because I wasn't looking for the exact same job that I currently held. I would need to play up some of the skills that would be transferable to move into consulting. And so I knew that was my goal. I did that time want to take some time off. I had never had an opportunity to ever be home with my daughter except for the 6 weeks of maternity leave I took when she was first born. So I used my severance package to stay home with her for a few months before I even started the job search, and had an opportunity to spend a summer with her. So just start thinking about, what does what's next look like for you? For me, when I started to see the signs and I started thinking about what's next, I knew that I could move to another consulting firm. If not in the role that I was currently in, I could go back and be a consultant and do program and project management work. But did I really want to do that? I may, but what I really wanted to do was fulfill my dream of owning a bookstore. So I started working with my local small business development association to look at a feasibility study. Would our town support the type of bookstore that I wanted to open, and what would it take? and what would it look like? And so that was my what's next and how I began prepping. And that is the third tip. Start prepping, start preparing. Once you decide what your next looks like, you have to do the work to figure out what will it take to get there. So as soon as I realized that opening a bookstore was feasible, I had to understand, what do I need to do to get everything in order to be able to fulfill this? For you, if it's, I want the same kind of job that I have currently, it's probably going to be things like getting your resume ready, getting work examples together, starting to network with others outside of your existing company to give them the heads up that you may be looking for something. And with that comes another decision. This isn't really a tip, this is just a decision point that you have to make. You have to decide, is it worthwhile for me to stick around until the end? Or if I get an offer of something, should I go now? And that's a personal decision. You have to make a decision that this is an amazing opportunity. It might not come around again. They're not going to wait for me. I need to jump and do this in advance. Yes, you'll miss out on whatever package there may be offered to you, but in the long run, if you want to keep doing the type of job that you currently have, maybe the best thing is to make that move when you have the chance. The fourth tip seems really intuitive, but it's really, really hard to do sometimes, and that is make sure you have someone to talk to. Whether that is therapy or a doctor or a loved one, just make sure you have somebody who is willing to listen to you and who you can share your fears and concerns with. For me, the second time I was faced with a potential reduction in forces, I remember really actually being stressed out about it at first. I had a family, and my daughter was just in junior high school, and I really started to think, what will I do? And I remember I had to go to the doctor for something meaningless, and I hadn't seen him for a while. And this was our family doctor who I'd been going to for several years. And I went into his office that day and he asked me, how are you doing? What's up? I haven't seen you in a long time. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not really great because I think my company is going to be doing layoffs. And he immediately stopped me and floored me with his response, which was, why is that a bad thing? And of course, my initial gut reaction to it was, well, I'll be losing my income. I need my paycheck. I have to make my house payment, etc. And his response was, you're smart and you'll find a way to manage, but maybe when the signs are there that it's time to move on, it's time to move on. And maybe it's better for you in the long run. And 100% it was. It was the right thing for me to do at the right time. And him telling me that was what I needed to hear from an objective party. My husband was telling me we'll be okay, it'll be fine, and somehow that wasn't sinking into me. But when this objective person, who still cared for me as my family doctor, said this to me, it did make me start thinking, oh, there's probably a way that this will work out, and I just need to be prepared for it. This time around, I have a really great therapist that I've been working with for a while, and she was amazing. And when I came up with, I think my what next is opening a bookstore, she became so supportive and a resource to me in the community for doing the things that I needed to do to start setting up my plan. Remember, this person is not going to solve your issue. You're not going to talk to them, and they're not suddenly going to make it right and fix everything. But be grateful for that objective voice who's willing to hear you out and listen to you and provide some input that just helps to support you on your journey. tip, and again, seems really, really obvious, but is it? Get your finances in order. Now, that can mean something different for everybody. Unfortunately, we live in a world where everything is really, really expensive right now, where saving is harder than ever. So having money in savings, having those emergency funds can be really, really complicated and really, really difficult. But if you are over 50, hopefully you have been saving at a minimum in your 401k. You have some investments. You have some emergency funds to fall back on. Now, it's not going to be great. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not advice in any way. You have to look at tax issues and penalties for taking things out. But hopefully with whatever you have together, you can start thinking about, what does my budget look like? And what should my budget look like? And I guess that's what I mean more than anything about getting your finances in order. I think that it can be really, really easy also in this day and age when you have some disposable income to spend it. And so by getting your finances in order, it is taking a look. What are the subscriptions that you have that you can live without, that you're maybe shouldn't have anymore, that you're not taking advantage of? And the necessities. What are my necessities? What are the things I have to have in my budget that are non-negotiables? That gets you to a better picture of what will it look like post severance, and how many months can I live before I find a job or before my new business starts being able to pay me a paycheck. And then how much will that paycheck have to be? The sixth tip is really based upon when it happens and what they give you. Now, there are different pieces of severance packages that are not consistent, just like deciding who's going to go in a package is not consistent. Some places offer money based upon how long you've been with a company. Some offer it based upon your role in the company. And then there are other things, ongoing COBRA benefits and outplacement services. My second layoff consisted of some money for educational reimbursement if we wanted to go back to school. So it's very, very different. But because you've already decided what your next step looks like, when you receive your package and you see all of the variables involved with it, you will know what you can take advantage of and what you should take advantage of. And take advantage of everything, right? They've put this into the package. They're paying for it. You should take advantage of as much of it as you can. A lot of the times it's something as simple as having someone review your resume. Definitely take advantage of that. These are people who do this for a living. It's their profession. Have them review your resume and give you tips, especially if your what next is looking for the same role over again. If you are trying to make a career change, having them review your resume is going to be incredibly helpful because they will know exactly what should be in it, maybe far more than you do. And the final tip is grant yourself some grace and give yourself some time to actually live through it when it happens. Even with all the prep in the world, when it finally hits you, it can be devastating. You can think you're the most well prepared, but it still feels very personal. So give yourself time to get through it and to allow yourself to be ready for the next step. Now, each of us is going to have a different amount of time that is that leeway to get through it, but give yourself whatever you can. And don't be surprised if it doesn't hit immediately. It may hit a while later. It's just like dealing with grief. There are phases, and you need to go through them. Now, I hope I didn't make it sound like, oh, this is a piece of cake and you're going to be great and it's all fun and games. It is not. It is very stressful. Even with knowing what I wanted to do next, it's incredibly stressful. I'm opening a new business and I don't know how successful it will be, but I'm hopeful and I think I'm prepared. And there's a lot of work that I'm doing that is definitely keeping my mind off of what happened before and not letting me dwell on it. So that is my situation. And if anything, I hope I see you back. I hope you like mystery thriller fiction and you want to come back for that content, because that's really what I do. And I'd love to see you again. But please, if you need somebody to talk to, if you need to know that others are in the same boat and how they're coping, please use the comment section, because I am sure if you end up on this video, you're going through the same thing that a lot of other people that are watching this video are going through. So thanks for watching. I hope I could be of help, and hang in there. You've got this and you're going to do great.